Hi, Pristine Beers here with White Lilac Cleaning Services. And today I'm going to talk about something that we should always be doing in the spring, and that is cleaning our deep freezers. Now here in Alaska, it's springtime and it won't be long before we have freezers full of fresh salmon, berries, possibly moose. And as we get ready to catch all that beautiful, bountiful meat and berries for the summer season, we need to make sure that we have room to put them in our freezers. So first, I'm going to show you what not to do by looking at my freezer behind me, because I haven't organized it very well. And then we'll talk about some things that you can do to improve the use of your freezer and organize it better so that you know how to move your products through the freezer and take care of your food so that it doesn't get freezer burned. Okay, well, this is a look inside my freezer, and what better way to see what not to do than by looking at my unorganized mess in my own freezer. So, top to bottom, you see there is a conglomeration of stuff in there, from the drawers, the sides, and everything else. We've got meat that's up on top. It's a mixture of meat. We've got some soup. I think there's a frozen bag of chili. We got a bag of ice there mixed in next to my pot roast sitting there. Down on the bottom, we've got tater tots, and we got some pancake mix, ice cream down in the way bottom, and some stuff down there in the drawers. Now over here on the side, I think I pat myself on the back. This is the coffee section. It's all good because you want to freeze your coffee. And I got some butter here, well organized, but that's about the best organization use of my freezer right now, because currently you can see it is a mess. Now, before I give you some tips on how to clean it, some other things that should have been done is I see some stuff is looking like it's getting freezer burned. We're seeing some moisture here on this here. It looks like the door maybe got it propped open a little bit too long. These deep freezers have a tendency, ours is it automatically defrosts, but still it's starting to get some condensation, frozen pieces right here that I need to take care of and get out of there so that I can clean it out and reorganize it.
Let's go.
So now that you've seen the ugly inside of my freezer, which I don't usually share, but I'll put it out there on social media for everybody to see because I know it's a mess and I know it can look better. So my goal in the next couple weeks is to take care of the freezer, empty it out. And so the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna move everything out and I'm gonna unplug it and completely remove everything and defrost it. So making sure when I unplug it that as I'm sorting through my food that's already in there, I wanna take out anything that's potentially freezer burned. And if you see things with white patches on it, that's freezer burned. So you wanna take that out. In Alaska, I don't know, but I have seen like on some of the Facebook groups that a lot of dog mushers or people that feed their dogs raw food will oftentimes take freezer burned meat. But that's not what I'm gonna end up doing. Normally what I do if I come across something that's freezer burned, I do a couple things. After I get my freezer cleaned, I put that meat aside in one of the bottom shelves, and I know that that's meat that I'm not gonna keep, that I'm actually gonna get rid of. And then the day before trash comes, I throw it in my dumpster. And I don't wanna put it in a week prior because it's gonna sit out there in our warm temperatures in Alaska and start stinking, potentially draw bears or other wildlife. So I wanna keep it frozen as long as I possibly can before trash comes and picks it up. So after I've deep cleaned, or after I've unplugged it and let it unfrost, moved everything out, then I'm gonna clean all the surfaces, and I'll clean it with warm water and baking soda. Don't use anything sharp or around anything on the sides. You just want to use a damp cloth. You can use a magic eraser. That works really well for getting any scuff marks off the white on the inside of the freezer. Next thing I'm going to do after I have it cleaned is I'm going to plug it back in, and then I'm going to prepare the food that's going back in by organizing and labeling it. I'm going to sort items, and I'm going to sort my vegetables towards the top and my meats towards the bottom. So if for some reason there was ever any drips, we're not going to have cross-contamination. I'm going to organize and label them with dates. And as I'm putting things back in the freezer, I'm actually going to make sure that I am putting the date, or putting the older products in the front of the freezer and the newer meat that I bought or produce in the back of the freezer. So we're rotating the stock to make sure that we're using the older meat first and not letting it get to the point where it's freezer burned. Second, or lastly, is maintaining efficiency and freshness with the freezer. Optimal temperatures for freezer is 0 or minus 18 degrees Celsius to keep food safely frozen. And I want to avoid overfilling it. Now you can see from my previous video that, yeah, my freezer is a little full and it's not organized, obviously. So it's making my freezer work harder. And honestly, this freezer, I bought at a garage sale about 5 or 6 years ago, I think for like $100. And I really want it to last longer, so I really should take better care of it. Now, maintaining the freezer on the outside, I try to keep it clean. Down at the bottom of the freezer, you want to make sure that if there's any, like we have it in the garage, you want to make sure that there's no sawdust or anything that is collecting underneath where the air circulation is at the bottom of the freezer. And make sure that there's nothing around the freezer on the back end. Make sure the plug is good. I always do, you know, especially if you're in a new home, I always put a sign on the front of my freezer that says make sure the door shuts well, because sometimes it doesn't always shut well. And when I'm organizing and putting stuff in the freezer, I'm always making sure that I put it in where it's not going to fall forward and accidentally prop or push the door open. I've heard many people talk about, oh my gosh, the door got left open and all of our food was spoiled. So that's a terrible thing to happen. But when I'm also plugging it in, especially if you're in an unfamiliar place or you have a new freezer, make sure that your plug is not attached to a light switch, because you don't want to accidentally turn your freezer off by switching off the light switch. So make sure it's by itself on its own plug that's not attached to anything else. So I hope these tips were helpful. I hope you get an opportunity to clean out your freezer and start fresh. And also this summer, collect lots of good food, fruits and vegetables, and put them in the freezer for our winter hauls. All right, have a great day.